Hey everybody, hope you're having a great day. Today we're going to start chapter 11, which is all about statistical measures. Today we're just going to focus on the measures of center. So we're going to keep it kind of simple here. We're just going to talk about measures of center, which is mean, median, and mode. The reason they call them the measure of center is it usually talks about the middle part of the data, so that's why they call it the measure of centers. The ones that we're going to talk about are mean, median, and mode. Mean means average. So when you add them all up and then divide by how many there are, that is the mean. It is represented by X with a bar over it, and it represents, it's read as the X bar. So if you're talking about the mean, you have X with a line over it. Median is the middle number in a data set. So if you have an odd number of data, like this, then the middle number right there will be your median. If you have an even number of data values, then what happens is you take the two values in the middle, split them in half, or add them up and divide by 2, and that number would be the median. Mode is the most frequent number, so if there's one number that's occurring more than the other ones, that's the mode. If there's two numbers that are occurring more than other numbers, like there's two values that are both occurring twice, where everything else is occurring once, and there's two modes. There could be no mode if everything's happening exactly the same. So if every piece of data value is, there's two of them for all, then that would mean there's no mode. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that today. All right, so first we're going to talk about it by lining this up. It says, the amusement park hires students for the summer. The students' hourly wages are shown in the table. So to find the mean, we can just add these numbers up and then divide by how many there are. So I would probably use a calculator. I'm going to use a calculator, so I'll pause the screen and I'm going to add it up. And when I'm done, I will press play. So if you guys want to pause the screen and add them up yourselves, feel free. So when you add them all up, you get 77.2. Now, of course, that is not the mean. We still have to divide it by how many there are, which is 8. And when we do that, we get $9.65. Now, to find the median, we're going to have to put these in order from least to greatest. So I'm just going to type them out so you guys don't have to painfully watch me write all these numbers out. So 8.25 seems to happen twice. One thing some people like to do when they're doing these, they like to cross them out as they go. So after they write each one down, they cross it out so they don't repeat it, and they know where they have to go afterwards. I'm sometimes a fan of that. Sometimes I'm not, because I like to look at those numbers later if I need to. I go back and see which one I missed. I just count and see if I have the same number as is up here. If not, I just look for which one I'm missing. So that's what I'm going to do. But you can do it any way that you like. So we have 8.65, 8.75. Looks like we have 910, 925, and then 1650. Let's make sure I have them all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 8 up here. Alright, so I've lined them up from least to greatest. Now what I need to do, since I know that there's 8, because I just count them up, there's 8, and I divided by 8 before for the mean, I know that I am going to be splitting it down the middle for the median. So I'm going to have to count 1, 2, 3, 4 here. So the median is going to be right there, meaning there's 4 up here. Another thing some people like to do is they like to cross out as they go. They cross out the smaller number, the bigger number, and then they just go like that until they either have one number in the middle or two numbers in the middle. And then what you're doing is you're just adding these two numbers up and dividing by 2, or you can just think about what number is in between these two. So in this case, it would be $8.70 would be the median. The mode is the number that is happening the most frequently. So if we look at all of these, 8.25 is happening twice, where everything else is happening once. So the mode of this data is $8.25. All right, now for B, it asks, which measure of center best represents the data? So the answer to this question in every single case, when they ask what is the best measure of center to represent the data, Well, you just look at it and you ask yourself, is there an outlier or is there not an outlier? If there's an outlier, well, that's going to skew the data. So if you have an outlier, it's going to make the average either higher or lower than you really want it to be. So in this case, we do have an outlier. There's an outlier of $16.50 because all of these numbers are really close together. And $16.50 is pretty far apart from them. And it just jumps really. It's not a gradual increase, it just jumps from $9.25 all the way to $16.50, where the numbers in between there, they're only $1.50 away, and also now this one's $7.25 away. That's a lot farther. So there is an outlier, and that outlier is $16.50. So what that's going to do is it's going to mess the mean up. It's going to make the mean or the average higher than it should be. And if you notice here, the mean is $9.65, but the median is $8.70. So which one of these numbers would you think best represents the middle number of the data? Well, 965, the only number that is bigger than 965 is the 1650. So that wouldn't be a really good measure of center for this data because of the outlier. So the best measure of center when there is an outlier is the median. So which measure of center best represents the data? Since there is an outlier, it is the median. And that is your explanation. There is an outlier. All right. And ultimately, that's all we're going to do today. So I'm just going to kind of let you guys do it since I know you've worked with these things before. Kind of making an easy Friday before the weekend. If you have any questions, write them down in the Google Doc and I'll get back to you. Otherwise, have a great weekend and we'll see you on Tuesday.